Welcome to Some Topic, the podcast where two dangerously underqualified individuals tackle an ever-changing buffet of subjects we have no business discussing. From global politics to ghost squirrels, nothing is off limits, and nothing is properly researched. We are your hosts, two voices with microphones, a Wi-Fi connection, and just enough confidence to sound like we know what we're talking about. Spoiler, we don't. But that's never stopped anyone with a podcast before, and we refuse to be the first. Every week, we plunge headfirst into topics both serious and stupid, usually at the same time, armed only with sarcasm, caffeine, and a dangerous overestimation of our own coherence. Whether it's philosophy, politics, pop culture, or paranormal rodents, we approach each subject like two raccoons who broke into the Library of Alexandria, knocked over a torch, and now insist the fire was enlightenment. Our findings? Improvised. Our sources? Suspect. Our method? Whatever we yanked from our asses while marching proudly up the hill of stupidity, ready to fall honorably in the fog of ego, ontological confusion, and the blood-slick ruins of abandoned discourse. It's too late to turn back now. Your descent has begun. And we, your casually deranged hosts, will guide you in style straight through the crumbling ruins of reason. Listener discretion is enthusiastically advised. This podcast contains strong language, stronger delusions, and a persistent disregard for intellectual safety. If you're easily offended, chronically literal, or spiritually fragile, please relax your chakras, unclench whatever needs unclenching, and consider yelling at a tree instead. This is not journalism. This is not education. This is comedy. This is play. This is Some Topic.
Brett.
Yes.
Let me hit you with a hypothetical. If you were in the car and it was raining, and you were wearing a jacket, what would you do to protect that jacket from the rain?
Well, you see, I think it's a complicated issue. I think that it's multifaceted and that there are many factors to consider in something like this. I think there's a reason that some jackets are branded as rain jackets for their water-slicking properties, while others, more geared towards warmth and insulation, may in fact absorb water better, and in the long term, in a watery environment, may, in fact, in a waterlogged environment, leach heat from your body and contribute to hypothermia.
So the answer that we were looking for is you take the jacket off and you walk through the rain.
And you shove it right up your butt.
Yes, right up there with the encyclopedia stuck in our other co-host Sam, who is still abducted by aliens.
But don't worry, the Greys will have those pages out eventually.
What do you think the going rate for a plumber is to get that out of your colon? Or I guess, would you call it, is it in your colon? Is it in your sphincter? And then the second question I got to ask is, do you call a doctor or a plumber? And then, or do you call both? And who do you call for a consultation on the matter?
I think there's a very fine line between proctology and pipe fitting. And in Sam's case, God help him, he may be in dire need of both.
The amount of paper cuts coming out of that boy's asshole. Oh. And how you want to shove a jacket up there?
Well, I mean, without removing the hard cover of an encyclopedia, it's a lot harder to get up there. But, if you remove that, if you rip all the pages out and sort of wind it up, it can be quite easy to achieve. In a similar fashion, you can wad up a jacket or a hoodie or something. In a similar manner to how a clown will roll up a series of handkerchiefs tied together, able to fit in the palm of his hand. And
I was under the impression that was like a gimmicky magician thing.
Yeah, you've never seen a clown or a magician, take a thing of wadded up handkerchiefs and slowly pull them all out of his asshole?
No. I had a birthday where I think what it was is we hired a third party to come in, and you had you could pick whatever, all these different themes.
See, this is why you turned out fucking weird, because your parents got you libertarians for your birthday.
Correct. And so I thought you said the librarian, and all I was thinking of was the movies.
A third party.
That. So you could pick whatever the hell you wanted as far as like the topic of your birthday, and then that's what they would, you would do activities based on that theme. And so I picked detectives. So everybody got magnifying glasses, and because I was the birthday boy, I got a nice cool jacket. Nowadays that would be the, oh wow, you're either naked underneath there or holding an AK-47, and we got to go around and solve mysteries. And it was like really stupid mysteries. I don't remember what the hell we solved, but every person that went to that birthday party that I talked to, this had to have been like 10 years ago, where I just chatted with somebody about it, and I'm like, I don't even remember you being there. And it ended up just like, yeah, I remember that being a great party. I'm like, thanks. I don't remember anything about it. So yeah, if you wear a trench coat, you're either a sex offender, you're a prostitute.
But either way, you're a clown.
Yes, a clown is a sex offender underneath a trench coat. That is the conclusion we came to for when it's raining and you're wearing a jacket. Logic. Welcome to Some Topic. My name's Nick. That was Brett. What's today's topic, Brett? Because it made total sense.
Oh, well, today I wanted to talk about a character in a short story series that's close to my heart, and that is...
You should get that checked out.
Well, all the proctologists are busy, and my heart is actually located in my colon.
That's why your heart's so shitty. Or is that why you're shitty at love?
It's why I have a arrhythmia. Because I keep getting fucked.
We don't need to go that deep, buddy.
That's what I kept telling them, that they were going to hit my heart.
Did you feel attacked? Would you say that you had a heart attack? Huh?
Alright, well, last week you wanted to discuss a favorite character of yours, Sherlock Holmes, so today I wanted to bring in sort of a foil to that in Conan the Barbarian, which is in some ways quite similar, being a turn of the last century pop culture short story serial character. And in some ways quite different. Whereas detective story is, of course, quite cerebral, dealing with the examination of hard facts and trying to piece them together.
I think foil is a better word for it, isn't it? Just because they are
What
drastically opposite. Conan the Barbarian, Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey Jr., or the Benedict Cumberland, whatever Sherlock variation you want to go with. But are they similar? Like, how is Conan the Barbarian similar to Sherlock Holmes? Other than the obvious, you just said it, time frame that they came out.
Well, they're published in short stories.
Okay.
That's about it. There is at least one where he does solve a murder mystery in The God in the Bowl.
The God in the Bull. Okay.
God in a bowl, like a cereal bowl. Not cereal like one after the other, like a serial story.
Oh. I was thinking Honey Nut Cheerios, not your
cereal
dark
bowl
thoughts.
holds cereal like Honey Nut Cheerios.
Ah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification. So, who is Conan? I just think of Arnold. Good old Arnie. That man can pump some iron.
Well, a good 50 years before the Conan the Barbarian movie, with the Governator himself.
The Governator. I'll be back.
He was a character on the page.
You think he'll run for president after Trump?
Who? He was born in Austria. He is invalid as a presidential candidate.
Yeah, but
Unless they
can't
get
you
that
be
amended.
a president if As long as you're an American citizen. So if he takes the national citizen test...
There are several requirements, being at least however many years of age.
He's in his 70s.
And being a native-born American citizen. They did that to try and disqualify...
Obama?
Well, they did try and do that.
There was that rumor a while back.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but there was some guy back in the 1700s who they specifically fucking hated and wanted to keep him from being president, so they threw that clause in there.
Yeah, I hate that George Washington guy.
They got Martin Van Buren, who,
Oh.
spoke Dutch and stuff, but he wasn't actually born there. So I can't remember who it was that was born overseas.
The one guy at that one time.
Yeah, that one time.
Before 2026. Okay, so Arnold for 2020, whatever.
Similarly to Sherlock Holmes, I don't have so much a favorite screen adaptation as I am just a fan of the original short stories. Originally published there in a magazine.
Like what, Times Magazine or...
No, they had magazines specifically for short stories, pulp magazines because they were on shitty recycled paper or pulp.
Okay, so is it like a magazine in today's day and age where they, it's, I think, a Playboy?
No, it wasn't Weird Tales.
Oh.
A magazine for weird tales.
Interesting.
The same one that had H.P. Lovecraft and Clark Ashton Smith. So there was a lot of overlap and correspondence between people like Robert E. Howard, who wrote these Conan stories, and people like Clark Ashton Smith and H.P. Lovecraft, who pioneered weird horror and Lovecraftian horror, as we call it now.
Ooh. That's the Cthulhu guy, right?
That's the Cthulhu guy, okay. Right. That's the, I can't even describe it. What a fucking hack.
So you got a problem against Cthulhu, bud?
Maybe we'll get there someday. But in...
I think we did a Cthulhu episode, now that I'm thinking about it.
Oh, fuck off. Anyway, so Conan the Barbarian, being a big, burly barbarian guy in a fictionalized version of the ancient world.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into that later. He often finds himself fighting Lovecraftian things, that are, too horrible to explain, or from beyond the stars, or horrifically ancient.
Yeah, so the basic writer cop-out of, I can't explain this, so I'm just going to say it comes from this abyss. Space.
Whereas some of Lovecraft's stuff is designed to create a sense of terror of the unknown, I think for a lot of the Conan stories, at least in Weird Tales and such, it is designed more to heighten the stakes, to just make a cooler monster. Which is, very slightly different than creating a sense of terror of the unknown. So much if we make the monster fucking bigger and cooler, then it's bigger and cooler when you hit it with a sword and it dies.
Just sounds like Godzilla and all their new movies.
Maybe so.
I'm just saying, let's make the monster bigger. Let's make Godzilla burp pink flames. Was it pink? Whatever. King Kong got a battle axe. That was stupid.
I don't know. I heard the guy who did Evangelion did a Godzilla adaptation, Godzilla -1, but I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, we actually haven't, but that was trying to bring it back to its roots, I think, was the gist of that movie.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a Godzilla episode.
Yeah, we can. We'll get there. We haven't done one of those.
Conan has been quite influential on media. But it, again, originated back in the 30s in this magazine, written by a weirdo writing for Weird Tales, a guy called Robert E. Howard.
Of course, it's Howard. It's always a Howard somewhere in there.
Anyway, Howard grew up in Texas in the 30s, moving around between oil boom towns, fighting Indians and having Western brawls and stuff there at the close of the Wild West. And boxing was the most popular sport in the country then. He was big into boxing and started writing a lot of short stories about boxing, about physicality, about brief fights,
Okay.
and
What-
in
what-
these
what
rough
are
and
the-
tumble.
How does that
desert
story even
environments.
go? Like
What's that?
Rocky Balboa type stuff? Like I'm just trying to envision
Well, I admit
how
I
you
haven't
would...
read a whole lot of the short boxing stories.
Okay.
I imagine, though, it's a tad closer to something like Pulp Fiction.
Mm.
You know, again, that's a movie based on these short magazine stories and the pulps, you know, about gritty violence. And, you know, what was, what's his name, Bruce Willis doing in Pulp Fiction? You know, he's dealing with, oh, you've got to throw the fight, you know, but then you don't throw the fight, you run away with the money. And then you have to beat guys to death, and then there's a bunch of other stuff that's not relevant.
I know. Wait,
Don't say it.
wasn't Pulp Fiction the one with Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta?
Like I said, there's a lot of other stuff besides boxing in Pulp Fiction.
Adrian!
But I think getting started there in the wide world of sports and writing boxing scenes helped to develop his early writing style. That it is a punchy writing style.
Okay.
It's very quick. That
I
even
see
to,
what you did there.
even to this day, it's often touted as a good example for people learning to write fight scenes. That
Okay.
Again, that brevity is the soul of wit. That it's important to preserve word economy and to convey information very, very snappily, which is sort of the opposite of the job of a podcaster, which is to, you know, ramble on about bullshit.
The essence of podcasting is to be or not to be Berticus.
Right. And again, you can contrast that to Lovecraft's short stories for weird tales. You know, if you ever read Lovecraft, not only is it's sort of weird that it's conserving its word economy so much when describing these terrors that are so horrifically unspeakable, I can't even describe it. You know, it's just so many eyeballs, I can't even. Right? I can't even.
I cannot!
But the description of everything fucking else is just verbose. Just
Okay.
like he's paid by the word or something, which I don't think they were in Weird Tales.
Well, it was always...
But,
I don't know. Lord of the Rings, Tolkien
Again, great example. Very verbose, you know. Grandpappy Tolkien gets away with lots of stuff, right? Because he's one of the first ones through there, popularizing fantasy and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, he's taking pages to describe a hill or a tree.
Or a door.
That's slightly different.
Was it?
Yeah, the one with the fucking puzzle on it in front of Moria.
I guess.
That's a fun door.
Are we talking about The Hobbit, or are you talking about the actual Lord of the Rings?
It's not important right now.
You're right.
What is important
that's a
is the
different
issue
episode.
of word economy. And again, I think that's part of what makes these Conan short stories from almost a century ago hold up so good.
Okay.
And it's sort of surprising to me that, you know, that they do. You know, I was very surprised to take a crack at these short stories in the public domain that are so old, and this character who's so parodied widely, right? People making fun of this, you know, clownish barbarian, you know, like Dave the Barbarian and shit like that. You know, everyone
Oh
makes
my
fun
god,
of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I remember that.
Yeah,
That was...
it lives on in Fallout 4. You know, there's the Grognak comics. You know, oh, Grognak and the baby bats and shit. And, oh, there's a giant stupid guy swatting away stupid monsters and saving the scantily clad women. And so when I cracked open the first story, you know, I was surprised that, well, A, the writing's very good, and B, there's some actual depth to some of this stuff.
And
So
I remember you were on a kick
I was pretty
of reading this
blown
for a
away
while.
to begin with. Like, oh, wow, I didn't expect it to actually be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your favorite story?
That's not important right now.
Ah.
But while we're here,
While we're talking about it, let me talk about
I think
it.
the first story for Conan definitely left the biggest impression on me, The Phoenix and the Sword.
The Phoenix and the Sword.
Right.
That actually sounds kind of badass. What's it about?
Well, it's about the sword with a bird on it.
You just hyped this up with him having stellar writing, and then you just... Yeah, it's a sword and a bird. What is exciting about that?
The first thing to understand is that a lot of that Conan is set in the fictitious Hyborian Age.
Hyborian Age. What is that?
Right. Well, it's a fictionalized setting that is supposed to be Earth in the distant, forgotten past, but draws heavily on inspiration and naming conventions from real ancient history. If you might notice, Hyborian Age sounds very close to Hyperborean, which is, an ancient Greek term for, the far north. Past the Boreas, Hyperborean.
Is that why there was a Titan named Hyperion?
No, that's a totally different naming convention.
Oh, well.
Well,
I didn't know if...
Well, hyper does mean, past or succeed. It has nothing to do with Boreas or being past Borea.
Interesting.
Anyways, so it draws a lot on pop history and pop history as it was understood at the turn of the last century.
Okay.
That is to say, it's not strictly correct history, but it's history that makes for a very good telling of history. It's what makes for a good story.
Okay.
And a big theme of that is, your empire will begin to grow decadent, grow rich and fat and lazy, and in come the barbarian hordes, and take over, and become the new ruling class. And then the cycle repeats itself over the next generation. I'm sure you've seen the memes and the posts and stuff about hard times create hard men.
Well, that is a very...
Hard men create good times. And
that
good
is a
times
very
create
true
soft men.
statement.
It's a statement.
What do you mean? You don't agree with that statement?
I believe that the collapse of empires does coincide often with, the third generation and dynasty, but I don't think it's a strict rule. Again, I don't think that the fall of the Roman Empire was caused by decadence, at least not decadence entirely. I think it was a complicated systems-wide collapse with multiple points of failure. And again, it's not a matter of why did the Roman Empire fall, but why did the Roman Empire not fall for so long?
Zoom in a little bit. We're not talking about empires. We're talking about generations and what we see in today's modern era. You don't agree with that statement? If your father was rich, you would have it easier. You probably wouldn't be... You wouldn't have the traits, the ethics, or the knowledge of what it means to have that wealth. So you spend it frivolously. Well, because you're spending it frivolously and you're not, and this is a very generic example, you spend it, your offsprings no longer have that money that you had, so they have to work really hard. Well, they can't just come up from the bottom and have what your grandfather had. So then now you have to bust your ass because you're the second generation, and then you move on to the next generation, and then you've now increased your wealth to the point where your grandfather had it, but it's 4 generations down the line, and it repeats the same cycle.
It might be a good rule of thumb. I don't think it's set in stone. I think there are different types of hardship and different types of diversity. I think there are different types of generational wealth, and trying to apply any of those cycles that we see in ancient dynasties to modern middle-class domestic life is not going to be wholly applicable.
Okay. You have me intrigued. So what should be applied?
So Conan the Barbarian expects you to be sort of familiar with this principle.
So we'll ignore it. Got it.
And so the first story deals with King Conan, right? He has already spent a lifetime in the wilderness, relying on the strength of his arm and his wit to overcome adversity and working as a pirate and a mercenary, blah, 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 blah. He's already strangled the last king of Aquilonia, which is a region of France, but is now a Roman Empire analog in the fictional
Those
distant
damn
past.
Aquilonians.
And is now, spending his nights as a bureaucrat, more or less, squinting by candlelight, scribbling out orders on parchment and shit with his page and stuff, and lamenting about, when I seized the throne, I didn't realize that, that it was a desk job, that I would have to do this. And again, that's something that you see historically, maybe the best with something like the Mongols, right? That you're born and bred for horseback warfare and hunting, right?
Yeah.
And not necessarily for ruling China or Iran.
I don't know. I could rule Iran. Could you not?
Don't be topical.
Don't be some topical.
We are many more airstrikes away from putting you in charge of Iran.
Hey. Give me a small island nation like Madagascar. I'm sure...
Madagascar's a big island.
It is a big island, but it's better...
Let's start you off with Mauritius and see where you do from there.
How big is that?
Smaller than Rhode Island.
Okay, so I'll do that, but then do I
Let's start you off at Rhode Island and see where you go from there. We'll see if you can outperform Peter Griffin.
Well, considering that Peter Griffin is fictional and a proud sponsor of this today's episode, and a big fan of Conan,
Seth MacFarlane, please notice me.
good old Seth Boy is a proud sponsor of Conan, the late night talk show host that we're talking about. I don't suppose there's any correlation between them. Conan late night show and Conan the Barbarian.
I don't think so.
Ah.
It might be a vaguely Irish, Scottish name.
Yeah, it's
Conan
the
is supposed
namesake
to
that was
be,
throwing me off.
Vaguely Cimmerian, whatever. Vaguely pre-Celtic.
Okay. So again, continue with where you were going with that, sir. With what you were saying earlier.
So it was interesting to be immediately introduced to this character when he's out of his environment and dealing with this transition. And, immediately has some depth and some self-awareness that I was frankly not expecting from a character who I was mostly familiar with through Dave the Barbarian.
Dumber than fuck.
Right.
They have adventures on like a Friday or Saturday night? No, it was like a Saturday morning cartoons, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't seen that in forever. In the books, did they actually have scantily clad women? Like, was that like the trope? Or was that just based off... Did that come to be because of the popularization of the character into pop culture?
That is an interesting quirk of the magazine format of the Pulp magazine Weird Tales.
Nothing sells better than sex, baby.
Exactly. You got paid more money for your story by the magazine if it made the front cover with the illustration.
Okay.
And sex sells.
Sex
So
does
if your
sell,
story
baby.
has scantily clad women in it, and you can make that the cover illustration, it's going to sell more, and you're going to get put on the cover, and you're going to get paid more for your story submission. Which was very important if you're, trying to make a fucking living at this, furiously typing away, trying to submit your story each month and get paid, pennies for it. And speaking of, it's sort of weird to me that this format hasn't survived or made a comeback.
Scantily clad women?
Well, in an age where attention spans are constantly shrinking and everything is being turned into a subscription model.
OnlyFans?
It seems weird to me that there isn't something like that where you're paying a subscription for, if not a short story a month or a serial a month, then a series of them a month and some sort of syndicate of a few different writers and a few different stories.
I literally think that's just
I mean, the
OnlyFans
the
or
modus,
hentai games.
the modus operandi for fantasy novels is still, Brandon Sanderson, the human typewriter, cranking out shit that's like 4 or 5 inches thick, 500 pages.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you either a raccoon intern broadcast, a liminal space service message, an HR policy memoranda, listener surveillance notices, trash theology sermons, or the ever-present system malfunction emergency alerts. Please stand by. Trash Theology Sermon 3. The bin giveth and the bin taketh away, usually depending on pickup day. I need to address a structural issue within the intern nutritional program. We refined caffeine protocols, we've implemented recovery measures, but one variable remained unstable: baseline nutrition. You can't build sustained performance on coffee and regret alone. You can optimize spikes, you can mitigate crashes, but if the system is depleted, you mistake stimulants for sustenance. Performance wasn't just chaotic, it was inconsistent. That's when we introduced Zevo Life. It's a patented microalgae designed to support steady energy, digestion, and overall vitality, helping your system operate consistently instead of constantly compensating. Packed with essential amino acids, vitamins A, B12, E, and K, antioxidants, minerals, and bioactive compounds, all within a single teaspoon. It's not stimulation, it's foundation. We added it to the intern's daily allocation, and the Intern Nutritional Authority has adopted it into long-term protocols. You get 30% off your entire order when you use code TOPIC at zevo.life. And for transparency's sake, like a raccoon gazing into the future through a rearview mirror, we'll tell you plainly, the show earns a commission when you use code TOPIC. So you're not just upgrading your nutrition, you're reinforcing the structure that carries you through life's impacts. Nick, myself, and the Intern Nutritional Authority thank you for investing in the long game. We interrupt this podcast to bring you either a raccoon intern broadcast, a liminal space service message, an HR policy memoranda, listener surveillance notices, trash theology sermons, or the ever-present system malfunction emergency alerts. Please stand by. Trash Theology Sermon 1. In the beginning, the trash was without form and void, but raccoons saw that it could be organized.
So Brandon Anderson.
Sanderson.
Same thing.
Like Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, Colonel Sander. I like it.
Colonel Sanders.
Ah, yes. He's the guy that did the he picked up the Wheel of Time series after Robert Jordan, I think, was the original author who passed away.
Yes.
So no, he's. I never got to the point in that book series where I actually started reading Brandon's work, but everywhere I read, because those books are so fucking thick, and I was like, oh my god, I don't want to read this anymore. Everybody kept saying on what a magnificent job he did. And his wife, Robert Jordan's wife that is, ended up picking Anderson out of Mr. Anderson from The Matrix. Is every time I say it, that's what I think of. The wife said that he was like the writing style was almost the same. And so I'm sure the world building is spectacular for his other work.
It's all right.
It's all right now? You don't like it?
It's very long. Again, that's part of the appeal to me, that these stories are more bite-sized, more punchy, less long-winded descriptions. And again, I'm sure when the good folks OnlyFans launched their websites, I'm sure that they had something similar in mind.
Jesus.
People could release their fanfic for a few bucks donation a month and not whatever it is.
Well, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, and as I said on the Sherlock episode, the Romans liked anal, and so does America. I'm not wrong.
On the subject of the Romans, I'd like to...
On the subject of anal, those Romans. What about them, buddy?
On the subject of anal, I'd like to segue back to discussing the fictional setting of the Conan universe a bit more.
Do it, buddy.
I've already mentioned how it's drawing a lot on the ancient Mediterranean world for inspiration.
Mediterranean.
Not just in... Yes. Again, particularly in Roman times, the concept of Europe didn't really exist, hadn't really solidified, same for Christendom until later in the imperial era. So what we were left with was this cultural melange around the Mediterranean that Conan inspiration draws on a lot.
Okay.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you either a Raccoon Intern broadcast, a liminal space service message, an HR policy memoranda, listener surveillance notices, trash theology sermons, or the ever-present system malfunction emergency alerts. Please stand by. Trash Theology Sermon 2. Verily I say unto thee, one's worth is not in what they throw away, but what they are willing to dive back in for. I need to address an issue regarding the unpaid interns. While overall productivity has improved, there's a recurring decline following what they described as after-hours research. Translation, excess beverages were consumed. The next morning metrics were predictable. Cognitive clarity, compromised. Regret index, elevated. Sunlight compatibility, low. That's when we implemented liqueur gummies. They're formulated with DHM, which helps your body process alcohol, along with milk thistle, B vitamins, electrolytes, and ginger root to support recovery and hydration. You enjoy your evening, you support recovery. You wake up to regret your decisions with a clear head and a settled stomach. You can get 20% off your entire order when you use code TOPIC at liqueur.com. And for transparency's sake, like a raccoon peering through a kaleidoscope attempting to intuit your future by reading tea leaves, we'll warn you. The show earns a commission when you use code TOPIC. So you're not just protecting tomorrow, you're supporting the continued operational stability of the interns. Nick, myself, and the Intern Nutritional Authority thank you for your patronage. I need to give a brief update regarding the unpaid interns. For last fiscal quarter, their caffeine habits were entirely self-funded through dumpster-based nutrition and used coffee grounds rescued from the trash compactor behind the local prison. As you can imagine, results were inconsistent. Archival accuracy, unstable. Claw precision, questionable. Midday existential collapse, guaranteed. It was a difficult quarter. But that ends today. We've transitioned the entire intern program to Strong Coffee Company. Their black blend has 15 grams of protein, 5 grams of MCTs, and adaptogens like ashwagandha and L-theanine. So instead of spike and crash routines, it's a sustained focus. The results speak for themselves. If you're going to drink coffee anyway, it might as well pull its weight. You can get 20% off your entire order when you use code TOPIC at strongcoffeecompany.com. And for transparency's sake, like a raccoon peering through a mason jar instead of a magnifying glass while searching for mythic relics buried in a landfill, we'll tell you plainly. The show earns a commission when you use code TOPIC. So if you grab some, you're not just upgrading your coffee. You're funding structured nutrition for the interns. Nick, myself, and the Intern Nutritional Authority thank you for your service. We interrupt this podcast to bring you either a Raccoon Intern broadcast, a liminal space service message, an HR policy memoranda, listener surveillance notices, trash theology sermons, or the ever-present system malfunction emergency alerts. Please stand by. Trash Theology Sermon 4. Remember, cleanliness is next to loneliness. Seek the comfort of clutter.
Mediterranean civilization was mostly a combination of Semitic and Hellenic, with
Semitic and Hellenic. I don't know what that means.
Jewish and Greek.
Ah, thank you.
Alexander the Great took over all the pre-Arab stuff,
Good for him.
and then the Romans took over that.
Those bastards.
And it remained the wealthier part of the empire for its entire history, the eastern end.
Okay.
And it's that serves as a inspiration for many of the Conan settings. This decadent Eastern style, rich metropolis, and it's this decadence that opposes the force of the barbarian. Again, it's that theme of growing fat and rich and happy versus growing up with nothing in the wild and having to survive with the strength of your arm and blah 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 blah. Which again, I think makes a very interesting story. I think it follows a very historical curve, but I don't think it's, a set in stone rule of life.
It does kind of scratch that niche that you like with almost... It almost scratches the itch of action and fantastical genre... Whatever.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastical.
Fantastical genre. And then it also hits and scratches the itch of, okay, this is actually real and doable. So, same story, different, a slight tweak in the plot elements, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what was, I remember you told me this. It was every story is just the same thing over and over again. It's just, like, it follows the same routine. It's the same circle jerk of life. And it starts off with the heroine or somebody down in the doldrums. Then they have to go through this entire process where they meet like a wizard or an old man.
Leave home into the unfamiliar.
Yes.
Right.
What is that called?
That's the hero's journey model by Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, that one. And like when you told me about that, I was like, that is fucking nuts.
He leaves home in search of the chicken noodle soup that will serve as the medicine for his people.
And then he comes back as Mr. Campbell, reborn, and creates an industrial company that lives long past him.
Exactly. He returns changed and can't quite integrate back into society. He's brought some of the outside world with him.
And now your grandmother makes homemade chicken noodle soup like nobody else because it's in a can and it's microwaved. I ever tell you the story of how I thought my grandmother made fucking homemade chicken noodle soup and I was lied to? I swear to God, every time I went and visited my grandma, this is the same grandma who, I don't know what's happened to her now just because she's older and blah, blah, blah. And she's doing her own thing with my, dear old dad. She'd get her fancy china out, and she'd just have this homemade chicken noodle soup. And that's what I was led to believe. I remember asking, like, Grandma, did you make this? Is this homemade? She's like, yeah. And then I think like 10, 15 years later, the last time I saw her, I finally asked, I'm like, hey, so can I have some homemade chicken noodle soup for, old time's sake? She goes in the cabinet, starts opening up the Campbell's can, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is what I did every time. No wonder I was fat. You know how much saturated fats and sugar in that fucking stuff?
I think it's mostly salt.
Well, that too. But my point is that it was like, I grew up with that, and I was like, that was my grandma's cooking. Like, it was so delicious. And it was just some processed shit in a can, but it was like the memory of that being homemade, and that was what I always got whenever I went to my grandma's house. That is a warm memory that I absolutely love. I hate that it is ruined, but I love that. The little twist on it, you know?
For your grandma, the important thing was using the nice china.
Yes!
Exactly.
God damn, women like China.
Don't get me started.
I want to get you started.
My grandma told me that she and her family were Romani, or Gypsy.
Really?
Yeah, and that she could put a curse on me and stuff if I misbehaved.
Dad's side or mom's side?
Mom's side.
Really?
The DNA test proved that this was incorrect.
I didn't know that. That's awesome, man. So you were a little...
No, it did find out that we were some smidgen percent Neanderthal, which is an interesting point I'll come back to later. But my grandma also sent me to Sunday school, which was sort of weird and sort of interesting. You know, for adults, you know, church on Sunday is very much oh, Jesus is cool and tells everyone to be nice to each other.
Yeah,
pretty
much.
And then all the kids of all ages, you know, got together for the Sunday school thing with this very breathy lady, you know, with the lung capacity of 2 beans. Who tell you, like, Jesus loves me, yes I know. Right? And then you'd get split up into smaller groups and into smaller classes. And that's when shit got fucking different. That's when you got, and then the disciples of Moloch would take the firstborn children and shovel them into the gaping maw of the idol to be consumed by the flames.
What the fuck?
And the Israelites met them on the field of battle, on the Great Plains, with their brazen chariots, and their great slings hurling stones at the giants.
What the fuck were you... That was not my Sundays.
That's where it got Old Testament.
Okay.
And anyways, I think that early exposure...
That's why I like Conan so much.
To this early Near East experience, upon much reflection, drives some of my interest in this D&D Conan sword and sorcery shit.
Thanks, Grandma.
Not so much into the love of Jesus, but into the interest of
Old Testament
into the interest
God.
of these Canaanite idols.
Old Testament God just blasphemy and throwing lightning bolts, and Brett's over here just, oh my God, this is just sending a shiver down my spine. Let's keep reading.
But the setting of Conan the Barbarian is very interesting. It's very reflective of 1930s Texas. Both in their understanding of science and the natural world, and their understanding of race ideology.
Good for them.
They didn't quite have plate tectonics yet. Herman Wagner, the guy who... Was that right? Wagner? Herman?
Actually, yeah, that sounds
Wagner?
about right.
Whatever.
I can't remember.
You're the fucking expert on...
Yeah, on dirt, but I don't remember who did what. I haven't studied
He was
him.
laughed out of a lot of rooms for saying that continents slowly drifted on their own and stuff. And it took until getting nuclear submarines that you could go down to the bottom of the ocean and actually read the magnetic lines in the soil and go, oh shit, he's right. Anyways, the fantasy writers at the time were still working on the cataclysmic model.
Yeah, Alfred Wegener.
Yeah. They were still working on the cataclysmic model. That is, that the Earth did change, but it changed very rapidly and very violently. They were working on the Atlantis model. Of continents sinking in a single day and night, like that fucking Roland Emmerich movie, 2012.
The Great Flood.
Exactly. The Great Cataclysm of the Deluge. Again, a cataclysmic model. This guy Robert E. Howard actually wrote a bunch of stories set after the fall of Atlantis, but this Hyborian Age is set after that. Again, yet a rudimentary understanding of science. You know, they were starting to figure out that the Earth was not 6,000 years old, and that was considerably fucking older.
Okay.
And so they figured that there was lots of unknown, unrecorded time in Earth's ancient past, in prehistory, where there could have been ancient civilizations running around, blah, 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 blah. having adventures fighting evil wizards and shit.
Okay.
And
Magic.
again, we might touch on more conspiracy theories later on, but, that's a new conspiracy theory that, like, Netflix has documentaries on about, oh, well, what if there was a globe-spanning civilization at the end of the last ice age?
I don't know.
And-
What if there was?
Well, that's what the fuck Conan the Barbarian is about.
Ah.
Science. They also had dinosaur bones and
Science,
stuff.
bitch.
They knew that even before the rise of humans and stuff, that there were bizarre sea critters and stuff. Like that Kraid Lily Pokemon. The weird Pokemons. The
fossilized ones.
yeah,
like
the
Cranidos,
trilobites and stuff. The bizarre, not quite
Aerodactyl.
plants, but sort of plants.
Yeah.
Yeah, they knew that all of them existed. H.P. Lovecraft based some cool critters in Antarctica based off of them.
Yeah.
They knew about the dinosaurs and the age of the great and terrible lizards, right?
Okay.
There's a whole lot of snakes that show up as adversaries, if not villains, in Conan the Barbarian.
I'm sure there's
And a lot of them
excellent reason for snakes.
A lot of them are supposed to be holdovers from this inhuman age. That this is a terrible thing from before the dawn of man. A vestige of a bygone era. A terrible and unknown thing. Sort of harkening back to Lovecraft, and the world is horrifically, unknowably old, which is sort of true.
Okay.
Again, there were great and terrible lizards and shit. Again, sort of true. I think part of it has to do with a lot of mythology surrounding the dragon and the myth of the great serpent. Something like Thor slaying Jormungandr. There's plenty of other mythical serpents and such. Again, in the Bible, in Old Testament, again. The serpent has become a symbol of Satan in the Garden of Eden, right? Again, sort of another great coincidence. Right.
You could do a whole entire episode just on the symbolism on snakes.
I could, and I think it's one of those really interesting coincidences that, again, in primeval days, the world was ruled by terrible lizards, and that later we did come up with dragons and Satan in the Garden of Eden and shit.
Yeah, but
That the lizard and the serpent have become this symbol of primeval, terrible evil.
Yeah, but what came
predates
first,
man.
the Garden of Eden, or dragons? Or what I'm getting at is all these ideas, they might be interlinked, but what chicken and the egg? What came first? And I don't know if there's an answer, and maybe there is.
Right.
But
And
at what point do we find something new?
I think
and
it is one of those
what we just
bizarre
say?
coincidences. I think it is a coincidence purely, but I do think it is bizarre and makes the writing a bit more interesting and meaningful to me.
Yeah.
Who did grow up with some of that symbology of the serpent as a symbol of primeval primeval, if you will.
It's a good TV show too.
No, it's fucking not. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to your audience. Good guy.
I enjoyed it. I like silly things.
You enjoy watching paint dry. Look,
I enjoy watching water.
What I always tell you is that we're allowed to enjoy silly things, but you don't have to insist that it's good. You don't have to lie to yourself. You can say that it's bad and still enjoy it.
I liked it.
Like, Conan the Barbarian is silly, and some of it is bad. Some of this, it falls off
movie
towards
was
the
not
end.
good.
There's a flattening of effect. Yeah, it's not a good movie, but I can still enjoy it. As long as I admit that it's bad, I'm allowed to enjoy it. I don't have to sit here and lie to you and tell you that it's a good movie in order for me to enjoy it. You're allowed to like bad things. Like bad things.
Like bad things.
I'm still segueing
Today's sponsor on this episode.
onto a different... we can do a whole thing on Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Oh my god.
Another of those great coincidences is race relations, right? Race
We
relations...
could do an entire episode on that too.
Race relations are a big part of Conan the Barbarian and the fictional ancient setting. I'm pretty sure in the canon that white people evolved from Yetis in the Arctic, from Arctic apes in the far north, in Hyperborea, past the Boers, past the north,
Okay.
past the north wind, whatever. And evolved from there. And that, in the story and shit, race mixing's a bit different. There are racial depictions and caricatures of East Asian, South Asian, West Asian people. There's a lot of negative Arabic Semitic stereotypes.
So,
but again,
okay, but dumb question.
again, we grew up during the Iraq War. You know, I was told growing up that all Arabs are terrorists. I was verbatim told that by trusted adults. Okay, so I'm willing to play a bit more with Orientalist tropes of turbans and onion domes and decadent sultans and stuff. To me, that idea of a lost Arab golden age is a lot more appealing after the fucking Iraq and Afghanistan, and being told that this is a degenerate terrorist civilization.
Okay, so we
part of that story, part of that semi-historical motif of the rise and fall of empires, of decadence versus barbarian, and this cycle of civilization, is applied to race relations. Is applied to a new vital race versus a decadent race, leading into devolution and degeneration, which is not really something that happens scientifically. You know, people do not degenerate into inferior races. People don't turn into monkeys.
Okay.
It's the other way around. There are also plenty of evil monkeys. You know, sort of akin to King Kong, another 30s icon of monstrous adversary. And again, another depiction of race relation. It's also sort of an homage to The Murder in the Rue Morgue by Edgar Allan Poe, another American writer of horror.
Well, so
which we didn't talk about in the Sherlock Holmes detective episode.
We can always do a part 2 to Sherlock, but so we are describing a lot of the things, the background of Conan the Barbarian, the world building of Conan the Barbarian. What the fuck is Conan the Barbarian?
I haven't gotten to my point yet.
This is a very lengthy ass point, my friend.
You asked me on the show to talk about a special interest, and are upset when I blab about a special interest.
I am not upset. Who is Conan the Barbarian?
The point is,
I know his world, I know the background, I know the history.
Racial degeneration and fighting giant monkeys and stuff. It all comes off as very historically ironic to me. That again, in the history of scientific racism, people often tried to say that non-white races were inferior and degenerate and closer to apes, or only distantly related to white people, or evolved from apes differently, blah, 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 blah. And if you look at it, again, it's the white people
Goddamn white
who
people.
have a percentage of Neanderthal DNA. It's the white people who turned out
Now
to be
we're
closer
touching
to
upon the
monkeys.
Neanderthal point you had broached. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's the white people who are degenerate and less evolved.
Those damn white folks.
And if you wrote that into a science fiction or fantasy novel, that the people who are trying to racialize and oppress everybody else turned out to be less evolved and shit than everybody else, you would be booed off the stage. I would roll my eyes and go, "Oh yeah, fucking right," and slam the book shut.
It's great firewood now, I guess.
I'd go, "That's fucking bullshit." It's another of those cases of great historical irony. So, who is Conan the Barbarian?
Do you know the entire thing we're trying to tell people?
Well, he was a very tall, very tan, very dark-haired, muscly character, often described as cat-like, tigerish, or pantherish in reflex.
What in the fuck does that even mean?
It means fast.
Okay, a tiger is not fast.
Look,
A tiger has
I'm
a lot of muscle and can move faster than you and I, yes, but it's
again,
not
I
fast.
have to remind you that one of the primary antagonists is going to be a giant fucking snake. Now,
Yeah,
if
like
you've ever seen,
Apophis
if you've
and
ever
all
seen
that.
videos slowed down of a cat fighting a snake, a cat has much faster reflexes compared to a snake. A snake can bare its venomous fangs and pounce at a cat, and the cat will be fast enough to bat the fucking thing away.
Sure, but I'm just saying, there are faster things than cat-like reflexes. I would rather
Name one.
be NASCAR.
Fuck you.
I got NASCAR-like fast reflexes. Any diesel engine. Even that shitbox from Arizona that we drove in. That would have been faster than a cat. A cheetah. And that's not a cat. That's a subsection of a tiger or a lion.
Anyway, Conan the Barbarian is a sword-wielding character.
That just beats the shit out of things.
Wearing little armor, although often wears
Loincloth.
heavy plate armor. Often finds himself gambling and womanizing. Often finds himself hired to rob, plunder, or pirate.
Any relation
Again,
to
this is pirate
He-Man?
in the Mediterranean sense, in the ancient world or in the early modern world, where piracy was rife in the Mediterranean.
He-Man? Yeah or no?
Yeah, that would be a notable
Okay.
influencey. He-Man is sort of interesting. Like I said, one of the more interesting parts of Conan to me was the dichotomy between the barbarian warlord pirate versus, wearing the crown, being the king, having the burden of leadership, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And He-Man and Prince Adam do sort of embody that dichotomy.
Yeah, but you have... Whereas Conan the Barbarian is one and the same. Like, he is everything that you describe. He's a barbarian. He's all... is he smart? Like, is he actually like...
He's street smart.
Okay.
Like
he's not like
as
doing...
a good linguist.
He's not doing calculus, but he's actually like... He's not grunting and like...
He's not
Solomon
stupid.
Grundy.
No.
So he's like He-Man. You got Prince Adams, where he's the prince. He's regal. He's the literal. I am the prince. I am.
Yeah, but he's also a skinny pussy boy.
Well, yes, but that's how it's Clark Kent. It's the glasses. It is literally the glasses theorem, where it is his pussy boy disguise that allows him to be He-Man. Whereas Batman is Batman, and Bruce Wayne is the character that Batman plays, so that way Batman can do Batman things. Prince Adam is He-Man, and He-Man just uses Prince Adam as a fucking disguise. And it just needs to happen, because that's just how that works.
Yeah, except they fucking draw him skinnier.
Well, depends on which iteration you're looking at. He got beefy. They're actually coming out with the movie, which we'll have to go see. I don't
This might
think...
be a matter of personal taste for me, but I think it's easier for me to suspend my disbelief to believe that something is cool and good and interesting if it's not a visual medium. I think a purely written medium allows me to believe that something is as cool as it says without, a questionable visual artistic statement challenging that for me.
Okay. That makes sense. So, what other remarks do you have on Conan the Barbarian?
I have several.
Okay, then say them.
As I was saying, the tendency to womanize is counterbalanced by the tendency to rescue damsels in distress as demanded by the extra pay for making the cover.
Okay.
I said that there's a lot of giant apes and giant monkeys and stuff. While that's true, there's also lots of, evil sorcerers, usually of the Arab variety.
I'm sure there's no racism there.
There is. There is.
Well, all right. Given the times,
But-
I could probably see it.
Yeah, given the times. And again, compared to the, terrorist variant, maybe that's preferable. But, again, I'm not Arab, neither are you. Others might have other shit to say.
I'm as white as they come, buddy.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Found that out through 23andMe.
And that's... So, a lot of the genre for this sort of fantasy is dubbed sword and sorcery. Conan's the sword up against an evil sorcerer. And it's that power dichotomy that drives a lot of the conflict. He's stuck being strong and sort of street smart versus the rich, fat, evil sorcerer,
Okay.
representing the decadence of civilization gone wrong.
Makes sense. I mean,
And again, this sort of comes out of the Texas oil boom, right? That suddenly a whole bunch of carpetbagging Yankees and stuff move in on the
because
on
this
the
was he wrote
humble-
it during the 19 whatever,
on the humble, strong
and he was going from oil
cowherding folk.
whatever. Got it.
Yeah,
I was like, how does the oil boom relate to any of this? And it's like,
there's
no.
layers.
I got it. This is some thick Reuben sandwich topics you got going on here.
I love a good Reuben sandwich. I don't know what you mean.
I just remember Lilo and Stitch, the yellow critter. He was always called the number until like the very last movie. They gave him a name, and his name became Reuben.
They called him that in the show. Fuck off.
I didn't call him that in the show. It was the last fucking episode.
Gantu called him 625. Everyone else called him Reuben.
Nobody called
He
him.
was Reuben in the
No, he was
credits.
always 625.
That's because Gantu's the only one who called him by his name.
Reuben, he got
Called him.
Reuben when Lilo gave him the name. It was not in the TV
I maybe
show.
played Dungeons and Dragons once.
I do recall playing once with you.
Dungeons and Dragons is a board game that was made back in the late 70s and stuff
Yeah.
by a couple of guys called Gary Gygax and Dan something Dale Arneson.
Okay.
Anyway, Gary Gygax and Dale Earnhardt Jr. invented Dungeons and Dragons, which was very much inspired by Conan the Barbarian. It evolved from a medieval war game into a more individual character-centric, more survival horror board game about exploring dark crypts and up against supernatural threats, armed only with your wits and your sword, right? And Gygax explicitly sources Conan the Barbarian as an inspiration for this, and that it contrasts a more Lord of the Rings approach to fantasy. That it contrasts the noble quest against the forces of evil towards drinking, philandering, womanizing mercenaries up against evil sorcerers and dark crypts and such.
Okay.
I mean, the second and third Conan stories and many more after are pretty explicit dungeon crawls up the Tower of the Elephant.
The fuck is the Tower of the Elephant?
Well, it's a tower with a elephant at the... Well, it's really a space alien.
Isn't it a space elephant?
Yeah, it's a vaguely elephant-shaped space
So
alien.
it's a space tower of an elephant.
Again, it's sort of Lovecraft-inspired, where
Lord.
Lovecraft was working on the assumption that the only biological way for a creature to fare across interstellar space was as a solar sailor. Basically fucking Dumbo, sailing on a light beam. And they had to have giant
I actually
membranous
like that
wings.
idea. Dumbo sailing on a light beam in space. Silver Surfer, but
Yeah, it
Silver
was
Dumbo.
closer to those Winnie the Pooh Nightmare fucking Heffalump Dumbo elephant.
Oh boy.
The point is he had a big fucking gem.
Oh boy.
And somebody wanted it, and they had to go and climb the Tower of Terrors to get it, navigate the garden full of beasts, and ascend the tower and deal with untrustworthy fellow thieves and shit.
Okay.
That Conan the Barbarian is a much heavier influence on, especially early Dungeons and Dragons, compared to Lord of the Rings.
Okay. So, I don't know how much more you have on Conan the Barbarian, but I think we're getting to the point where we've discussed his past. We've talked about his background. We talked about the writing and who wrote Conan the Barbarian. We talked about Conan the Barbarian's kind of generic, this is the stories, blah, blah, blah. We've discussed, obviously, you're a fanboy, blah, blah, blah. We've discussed who is Conan the Barbarian. You have still not answered the question. What is your favorite story? And none of that bullshit where it's the first one. You read all of them, or you read a majority of them. You gotta have a favorite. What is it?
Again, I told you that the Phoenix on the Sword presented him immediately as a non-one-dimensional character with misgivings about rulership versus his previous life as a barbarian and mercenary. I think that the Scarlet Citadel and the Tower of the Elephant are great dungeon crawls.
Okay.
With immediate precedence for Dungeons and Dragons, which I'm also a fan of, and part of why I sought out and read these stories. Again, I think those three present those first three stories present very strong characterization, very fun adventure. And I also mentioned the God in the Bowl, which wasn't even published during Robert E. Howard's lifetime, as more of a locked room mystery. It's more of a the City Watch finds Conan the Barbarian on a murder scene in a nobleman's house, and he has to defend himself. No, I'm just a thief. I didn't kill him. That was something else.
Well, as we come to
I think those are probably my four tops.
Okay, as we come to an end of this episode, any closing remarks on Conan, on Sherlock Holmes, on how the Romans like butt stuff, how space elephants travel the speed of light?
I think if I had seen the Governator movie before the stories, I probably would have liked it a lot less.
So watch the Governator
not totally
movies
without-
before you
without
read the
merit,
books.
You know, it's also got what's his face, the black guy. Everyone likes him. He was in The Lion King. Nice voice.
Morgan Freeman?
The other one, he died lately. I remember that.
David Attenborough? He's white, not black.
Anyways, Robert E. Howard was sort of a weird figure. This guy who wrote Conan had a character before him called the Conqueror, who I'm not familiar with. I'm not familiar with the comic books either. Like I said, I prefer it as a non-visual medium. I think it leaves more to the imagination.
Okay.
Sort of a weird guy. Killed himself at the ripe old age of 30 after his mother died of some old-timey disease, tuberculosis or consumption or something. He's only really published writer for a few years.
So don't kill yourself. And that's our message.
Don't kill yourself. That's pretty good advice.
And that's all for this week on Some Topic, the show where logic is seasonal, facts are optional, and the raccoons are 2 paychecks behind. If you're a liberal, please keep your critiques to yourself. Our unpaid interns have adopted a shoot first, shred later policy, and we're in a stand your ground state after all. HR has yet to get back to us with a solution, so stand by. To the rest of you, keep your coffee black, your sarcasm sharp, and your reality on airplane mode. Until next time, stay skeptical, stay caffeinated, and stay just interested enough to keep the surveillance squirrels guessing while we slip out the back.